Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a guide for round 5 of the 2021 FIA Nations Cup Stage 2 taking place at it's taking place at Route X, guys. So let's go ahead and get this started by mentioning that we are using the 1988 Supra since this is the car that can maintain the highest top speed while under clean air. That's not really going to matter when the race comes because in the race slipstream is going to be key to, well, keeping up with everyone. But anyways, going on with the lap guide, we're just going to keep going straight, staying in the middle, just so we can pretend that we look cool if we do decide to go into the cinematic mode. So let's go ahead and going over to the 5,000 meter mark, make sure you bring your hands up, pretending that you're on a really cool roller coaster ride as you start to go down the hill. And this is where you start to go really fast, so we're going to eventually hit 200 miles per hour, so that's around 320 kilometers per hour. So there we go, so 320 kilometers per hour, and we actually go just a little bit over that in the Supra. And then after that, we're going to eventually fast forward through this. And to deal with the bank turns, at least in time trial, you pretty much want to be where the dashed line splits the left and the middle lanes, so you just want to hang around there, pretty much with the left wheels going over the lane markers. So just try to stay there for as long as you can, just trying to minimize your steering inputs so you don't run the risk of losing too much speed. So you pretty much just want to be very gentle with your steering input, whether you're on the controller or on the wheel. In this case, I'm using the controller because do I really need a wheel for this? But anyway, so just keep it nice and gentle, especially as the bank turn ends. Just try to keep it nice and smooth. Then we're going to go into hyperspeed mode because, well, we're just going in a straight line. Eventually going over to the left side of the track as we get ready for the next bank turn, which is going to be in a while from now. Pretty much take the bank turn the same way as you did for the first bank turn, hanging out on the lane markers. Try to keep it nice and smooth and you're pretty much good to go. I seriously had to make a lap guide for this. But anyway, so we're moving on over to the qualifying session, and for this specific race that is coming up soon, you have 9 minutes to try to get a good qualifying time. And basically all you want to do, which is going to be similar in the race, is find a slipstream buddy and bump draft them. That's kind of it. So you'll see what I mean in a moment. So I'm going to be in a group of cars where I'm just going to be in the back and we're all just going to be taking advantage of each other's slipstream and bump drafting each other. So here we go, we're in that group, and yeah, we're just going to be cooperating with each other as we do the outlap. Just try not to end up screwing each other over, especially on the bank turns. You're just trying to go literally as fast as you can, especially on the bank turns, and this part is where you need to be a little more careful because you don't want to bump draft the car in front of you the wrong way to where you risk having them get taken out. Just try to be nice and careful. You pretty much want to be precise with your inputs and how you bump draft with the cars ahead of you. And once again, just stay in this slipstream, do lots of bump drafting, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the qualifying session. You only get one chance, so make it count. So let's go ahead and go on over to the race section of the guide, which will start in a moment. And I'm going to show the clips from the very first time that we had this race at Route X for Nations Cup. So just like this race that I'm showing right here, it is a rolling start. And the slipstream is on weak, so the slipstream is actually going to be a lot stronger than when it is on real settings. And the range for the slipstream between yourself and the next car is 2.5 seconds. So you want to make sure that you have a car that can accelerate pretty well so you can stay well within that 2.5 second range, because if you lose that slipstream range, you're going to get left behind. And also watch out for any potential shenanigans. Trust me, it can happen in literally any race. In this one, what caused the big one to happen was actually a bit of lag. Someone got lagged into another car and it caused all this crazy shenanigans to happen. But pretty much, considering But let's consider that none of the shenanigans happens. You're pretty much just waiting around for 1.75 laps, just waiting until you reach the final bank turn before you try to position yourself to try to make a move and slingshot yourself towards victory. And again, positioning is going to be especially crucial here, because if you slingshot yourself too early on, or you end up not being in the slipstream, then you're only going to be putting yourself at a disadvantage. As you can see right now, I'm kind of just getting left behind because I wasn't in the slipstream for a bit. And yeah, 2 laps, and I think the cars do around 5 minutes for each lap with the cars that we'll be using. So it's going to be around a 10-minute race where you pretty much just wait around until the end of the race before you try to make a move. Now, for this specific race, we have 24 cars to choose from, and we need to find out which cars are going to be good for this race. So I decided to do something really stupid and test all 24 cars out. So the way I did it is that, well, first, for the input, I decided to not use the wheel this time. This time, I decided to use our handy dandy controller, because, I mean, this is Root X. We're barely turning the car. Alright, so let's talk about how I tested the cars. So the way I tested these cars was I started a custom race, had the car settings set to how the cars are set up in the time trial mode, because those are the settings that we'll be using. And we pretty much just went ahead and threw the cars into the race, tested out the slipstream, especially since we're on weak slipstream settings. And we had to see how fast the cars are able to go. So to be a bit more accurate, I had the speedometer set to kilometers per hour, and I'll have all the details listed on the left side of the screen as you see now. And the first car we're testing is the 1988 Toyota Supra, and let me just tell you, it's good in time trial, but it is absolute trash in the race, because it takes about 1 billion years to get itself up to speed, and it can't even carry that much speed. It is the slowest car out of the lot, clocking in at 336 kilometers per hour, which is it's pathetic. So now that we have an idea of how I tested these cars, I'm just going to go ahead and go through every single car, so each clip is around 10 seconds. So we're starting off from the slowest cars and slowly making our way over to the faster cars. And a lot of these cars are going to be tied up, because a lot of these cars reach the same miles or kilometers per hour, depending on how you look at it. And I also have how long it took for each car to reach 300 kilometers per hour, because even if your car can go really fast, if your car is not that good when it comes to acceleration, that could be problematic, especially at the very start of the race. Because, for example, with the 1988 Supra, it took around 40 seconds to get itself up to 300 kilometers per hour. And if everyone else is using a car that is much better when it comes to acceleration, then the Supra could potentially get left behind at the very start of the race. And we're talking get left behind from a 2.5 second slipstream gap, which is going to be a bit embarrassing if you ask me. So you want a car that is good when it comes to top speed and acceleration. And don't forget that you also want to take into account how many revs the cars have left, because if a car can go, let's say 342 kilometers per hour, but it is at the red line, then chances are it doesn't have that much speed left. And especially when you have to take into account bump drafting, then you could potentially end up hitting the rev limiter, which is not a good thing. So for example, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo, it actually redlines or enters the red line at 342 kilometers per hour, which is right at its top speed with slipstream. And we've actually made our way through a number of cars. Just going through this really fast, because it doesn't make sense to take 30 seconds and talk about each and every single car. However, I will slow things down a bit more once we get to the very best cars, or the very best car. And the Ford Mustang Mach 1 was actually a bit surprising that I was able to reach 213 miles per hour, but its acceleration did feel a bit sluggish. And I think the Nissan Skyline R34, which we just went through, I think that's the fastest Skyline of the group, as we can use the R32, the 33, and the 34. And we're still making our way through, going on over to 343 kilometers per hour. The Ferrari 365 actually has pretty good acceleration, but it's redlining at 343 kilometers per hour. The Toyota Crown was actually a bit of a surprise here. It has pretty good power, pretty good acceleration, and it has decent amount of speed, but it is redlining, so you want to be careful about that. And we're also coming across the FF cars. So there's only two FF cars, front-wheel drive cars, the Volkswagen Golf and the Megane Trophy. And we're going to see that they're going to be pretty viable here, along with the Grady Fuguzi. And I think the Fuguzi is actually going to be one of the better cars for this race. And here's a Megane Trophy. It is a bit awkward when it goes through the bank turns, so you want to be a little careful about that. And here we go, we're now coming across the first place cars. The Jaguar E-Type can reach 347 kilometers per hour, which is really crazy, but I am going to call it a wildcard car because it is redlining when it goes to 347 kilometers per hour. But the best car is going to be the Porsche 993. This car has really good acceleration. It is the fastest accelerating car out of all 24 cars, hitting 300 kilometers per hour in just over 25 seconds, and it can go all the way up to 347 kilometers per hour. So this car is definitely taking this race pretty seriously. This car is really fast. So I think in terms of which cars are the most viable for this race, I think it's going to come down to the Porsche 993 and the Grady Fuguzi, especially the Fuguzi because it still has quite a few revs left as it reaches 346 kilometers per hour. The FF cars, so the Megane Trophy and the Volkswagen Golf, those I'm going to say that they're going to be the alternative options. So if you want to be Rebel and you don't want to use the 993 or the Fuguzi, you do have a couple of choices available between the Megane Trophy and the Volkswagen Golf. Now when it comes to the Jaguar E-Type, I'm going to call it the wild card because yes, this car can go fast, but the E-Type, it is redlining at 347 kilometers per hour. And I think that car is actually really close to its red line. So when you take bump drafting into account, you could be hitting its rev limiter, which is not a good thing. And before I go, because this guide is already going too long, I do want to announce that I'm gonna make a room tour, setup tour video thing where I get to show off my room, I guess, because I've made quite a few changes and I can't wait to show it off. And I have made a few upgrades, so I can't wait to show you guys that. So keep an eye out for that video. Hopefully I should have it out probably around next week, since I know there's no FIA race except for the GR Supra race, so that should give me a bit of time to record everything and have it out around that time. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this guide. Just make sure you do lots of slipstream, lots of bump drafting, and try not to end up in the big one through the big turns. So that's all from me. So this is Miss MCA, wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video. I also really can't believe I had to test these cars out here.